Everyone knew my billionaire husband was 2 decades older. He married me to manage his kids, learning he'd rarely be home. Give me 10 million monthly and that I wouldn't need children. I agreed instantly. My stepson, Lucas, skipped school for games. I bought his arcade and stayed up, winning all his allowance. My stepdaughter Maya adored a pop star. I paid her idol to give me a foot massage at our mansion, crushing her illusions just as we grew close. Warnings flash like comments on my life. The real heroine is returning. The kids will turn on the stepmom for their real mother. Stepmom ends up on the streets fighting dogs for scraps. So someone wants to steal my inheritance. Let's see if my managed husband and these kids side with her. I toss my Hermes scarf into the fireplace, beckoning Lucas and Maya minions. Find all your dad's hidden cash tonight. We're blowing every cent at the club. Nothing left for that gold digger. My command, and the two figures previously slumped on the sofa sprang to attention, like startled springs. Lucas's eyes gleamed like a hungry wolf. Are you talking about the black card? The old man hid in the ceiling compartment of his study. Maya, without a word, tossed her nail polish aside, and the gold bars he stashed in his old shoes in the walk-in closet. I nodded, pleased. They truly were his children. They knew his hiding spots better than I did. Take it all tonight's on Lucas. My treat for you. All the comment section exploded. Is this stepmom insane? She's about to be kicked out with nothing, and she's still pulling stunts. True heroine is at the doorstep. She's got a DNA test. The stepmom is just having her last hurrah. Wait till Mr. Movie comes back and sees the house ransacked. He'll throw this evil woman out for sure. I smirked, looking at the half-burnt Hermes scarf I just rescued from the fire. If I was going to be the wicked stepmother, I might as well act the part. 10 minutes later, Lucas clutched the black card. Maya hugged the gold bars, both beaming with an unprecedented filial glow. Mom, which club are we going to? I want the most expensive male escorts. Maya looked at me eagerly. The most exclusive one in all of New York. Tonight we drink till we drop, and I'll send your cheap dad our location. I waved my hand grandly, leading my two unfilioed children out. No sooner had we left than a taxi pulled up to the villa. A woman in a white dress, tears streaming down her face like pearly rain, stepped out. It was none other than the legendary true heroine Emily Sterling. She looked at the empty villa, the heartfelt reunion speech she'd prepared stuck in her throat. The comment section was full of question marks. Where are they? Didn't they say everyone was waiting to welcome the heroine? Where's the family meanwhile? My two stepchildren and I were in the most luxurious private room in New York. The table was laid in with expensive imported liquor, and 2 rows of male escorts, more handsome than any idol trainee, stood before us. Lucas was busy popping champagne. Maya was busy picking out the hottest guys. I slumped on the sofa, looking at the dozens of missed calls from Julian Mulvey on my phone, then promptly turned it off. Want me to leave with nothing? Dream on. Emily did have some tricks up her sleeve. She actually managed to find the club. The moment the private room door swung open, I was holding a microphone, belting out a duet of the big sedan chair with Lucas. Maya was directing 3 male escorts to peel grapes for her. Emily stood in the doorway, half her white dress soaked from the rain outside, looking like a pitiful white flower caught in a storm. It was a stark contrast to our wild, chaotic scene. The comment section went into a frenzy. While the heroine is so pitiful, her real children are right there, but they don't recognize her. These 2 kids have been corrupted by the stepmom, coming to a place like this at such a young age. Of course, she wouldn't care, since they are not her own. Look, the heroine is crying. The kids must have a psychic connection. Emily's eyes immediately reddened, tears flowing on cue. Lucas, Maya, I'm your mother. Her cry of mother was filled with such sorrow, it would break anyone's heart. The music screeched to a halt. Lucas still held the champagne bottle, staring blankly at the woman in the doorway. Maya still had half a grape in her mouth. I raised an eyebrow, said nothing, just took a bite of watermelon. Seeing no one respond, Emily gritted her teeth and rushed forward, trying to hug Lucas. My child, Mommy missed you so much. Mommy had her reasons back then. Stop. Lucas deftly dodged, retreating behind me. Lady, who are you? You reek of poverty. Don't get your stench on my limited edition hoodie. Emily froze, staring at her biological son in disbelief. I'm your real mother, don't you remember? When you were little you loved Mommy's braised pork. I don't like braised pork. Dad does this. Cut her off, mercilessly rolling his eyes. And now I only eat lobster and king crab. Can you afford to buy them for me? Emily's face paled, and she instinctively clutched the hem of her dress. She had just returned to the country. Where would she get the money for such things? The comment section was indignant. How can this child be so materialistic? The stepmom must have ruined him. Don't cry, heroine. Just throw the DNA test results at them and make them face reality. Emily's hand trembled as she pulled a crumpled piece of paper from her bag. This is a DNA test. You really are my children. Maya finally swallowed her grape. Slowly standing up, she walked up to Emily, looked her up and down, then covered her nose in disgust. So, what if you're my real mom? Can you buy me her mess? Can you get my idol to give me a foot massage? If you can't, then why are you back? To fight us for the inheritance. Emily was completely bewildered. This wasn't how the script was supposed to go. Where was the mother-child bond? The tearful reunion. Julian Mulvey finally arrived. When he pushed open the door, he was met with a bizarre scene. His ex-wife Emily was kneeling on the floor, weeping. Hysterically, his current wife, me, was casually watching the drama unfold, legs crossed, and his 2 children were hiding behind me, staring at their biological mother, as if she were insane. What in God's name is going on here? Julian thundered, his face dark. Emily seemed to see a savior, scrambling to his feet and throwing herself at Julian's feet. Julian, you're finally here. I don't blame the children for not recognizing me. It's my fault for being away for so long. But Delia, how could she bring the children to a place like this? It will ruin them. A classic move. Retreating to Admiralty and throwing me under the bus in the process. Julian glanced at the table full of liquor bottles, then at the bewildered male escorts, a vein throbbing in his temple. He turned to me, his gaze sharp. Delia Hayes, is this how you look after the children? I leisurely wiped my hands wet. Mr. Moldy doesn't like it. This is happiness bought with your money for your children. Besides, I didn't bring them here to do anything illegal. Just listen to music, have a few drinks. And by the way, I pointed to the male escorts. Let your daughter experience the diversity of men early, so she doesn't get fooled by scumbags like you later on. Julian choked on his anger. The comment section, however, suddenly became excited. Although the stepmom makes a really good point. This stepmom has some guts. Her mouth is blessed. Mr. Mulvey quickly help the heroine up. Rekindle the old flame, patch things up. Julian did indeed help Emily up. The look in his eyes wasn't the deep affection the comments hoped for. It was more like embarrassment. Since you're only here once in a blue moon, let's go home and talk. Julian sighed, seemingly compromising. A flicker of triumph crossed Emily's eyes, and she gave me a provocative look. They shrugged indifferently. Go home then. That house was no longer the one she remembered anyway. Back at the villa, Emily immediately slipped into her role. Ignoring her wet clothes, she headed straight to the kitchen to make supper for the children. Lucas, Maya. Mommy's making noodles for you. You used to love Mommy's homemade noodles. Lucas and Maya exchanged glances, horror in both their eyes. I'm not eating, I'm ordering takeout. I want barbecue, Lucas shouted. I want barbecue too. Extra spicy, Maya chimed in. Just as Emily brought out 2 bowls of bland, clear noodle soup, the delivery driver rang the doorbell. A mountain of lamb skewers, 2 platters of spicy crawfish, and ice-cold cola. The aroma instantly overpowered the 2 bowls of noodles. Emily's hands trembled as she held the bowls. These are junk food. They're not good for your health. I picked up a lamb skewer, took a bite, oil glistening on my lips. The most important thing in life is to be happy. Even dogs wouldn't eat your noodles. Emily moved into the guest room, but she clearly didn't see herself as a guest. The very next morning, she began a grand cleanup of the villa, under the guise of decluttering, and giving the children a fresh living environment. By the time the kids and I woke up late in the morning, the house had been transformed. Lucas's limited edition action figures had been thrown into the trash. Maya's pop star posters were ripped down and crumpled into a ball. Even the priceless bottle of red wine I kept in the living room had been poured down the drain, replaced with plain boiled water. No, my action figures. They were global limited editions. You can't buy them even with money. Lucas let out a pained shriek. Maya burst into tears. My bias. My posters, Emily. Are you insane, Emily? April and Clad stood in the center of the living room, looking innocent. Lucas, Maya. Those toys take up too much space and look childish. Mommy helped you put them away. And those posters, that male celebrity doesn't look decent. Mommy is doing this for your own good. The comment section erupted in cheers. Heroine doing great. She needs to help the kids get rid of those bad habits. This is a real mom worrying herself sick for her children's future. The stepmom only indulges. The real mom disciplines. The kids will realize the heroine's good intentions eventually. I leaned against the second floor railing, watching the chaos unfold downstairs, and couldn't help but laugh. Emily, did you forget this house is in my name now? Throwing away my things in my house. Who gave you the audacity? Emily looked up at me, her eyes red. Delia, I know you don't like me, but the children are innocent. You can't just indulge them in endless fun and games to curry favor. I'm trying to save them, what a noble declaration. Julian Mulvey came downstairs at that moment. And seeing the scene, his brows furrowed. Emily immediately rushed over to complain. Julian, look how Delia has spoiled the children. They're losing their ambition, chasing frivolous things. How will they ever inherit the family business? Julian glanced at the action figures in the trash, which he had gone through a lot of trouble to buy. For his son's birthday, he then looked at his daughter, whose makeup was ruined from crying. Finally, his gaze settled on Emily, who stood with a righteous expression. The comment section went into full alert. Here comes Mr. Mulvey is about to blow up. Mr. Mulvey will definitely side with the heroine. It's for the kids' good. After all, the stepmom is in for it now. She's definitely getting kicked out. Everyone thought Julian would reprimand me. And even Emily was prepared to be embraced and comforted. However, Julian took a deep breath and slowly spoke. Emily, I bought that action figure at a Sotheby's auction in Dubai for $80,000, Julian said, his voice dropping to a deadly, quiet register. And that poster you crumpled up? Maya's idol personally signed it when I flew him in on a private jet for her birthday. It cost me $500,000 in appearance fees. The living room plunged into a suffocating silence. Emily's righteous posture shattered. Her hand, still clutching a damp rag, trembled as the color drained from her face. Julian, I didn't know, but they are just toys. Children shouldn't be attached to material things. They are my children, Julian interrupted, his eyes cold and unyielding. They are born into wealth. Their material things are investments and privileges. Furthermore, that bottle of wine you poured down the drain to replace with boiled water was a 1945 Romanée belonging to my wife. That's another $30,000. Down the sink. The comment section, previously cheering for the real mom, suddenly glitched into a collective stutter. Wait, 80,000? $500,000. Holy crap, the real mom just threw away a house deposit. I mean, disciplining is fine, but destroying someone else's property? That's just psycho behavior. Notice how Mr. Mulvey called the stepmom my wife and didn't even acknowledge Emily as the mother? Ouch. You owe me $30,000, Emily. I chimed in, leaning lazily over the banister. Cash or wire transfer. I don't take apologies. Delia, how can you talk about money at a time like this? Emily sobbed, looking at Julian for support. Julian, tell her. I'm doing this for their souls. Julian pinched the bridge of his nose. The man paid me $10 million a month to keep his life devoid of this exact kind of headache. Emily stopped talking, he snapped. He turned to the kids. Lucas, Maya, go upstairs. Your mother, Delia, will take you shopping this afternoon to replace everything. Double the budget. Lucas's eyes widened, the tears instantly drying. Double? Even the platinum-plated Gundam? Yes, Julian said, exhausted. Maya sniffled, glaring at Emily. I want front-row VIP tickets to his European tour, and I want him to sing me happy birthday on stage. Whatever. Julian waved a hand. Delia will handle the logistics. Consider it done, boss. I smiled, snapping my fingers at the kids. Chop chop, minions. Go get dressed. We have a family fortune to squander. As the kids practically trampled each other running up the stairs, Emily collapsed onto the sofa, weeping into her hands. Julian didn't even offer her a tissue. He just looked up at me, a silent agreement passing between us. Get her out of my hair. That afternoon, I didn't just take the kids shopping. I made a spectacle of it. We descended upon Fifth Avenue like a pack of wolves with an unlimited platinum card. I bought Lucas the platinum Gundam, and while I was at it, bought him a vintage Rolex. To keep track of how much time you waste playing video games, I told him. He grinned, strapping it on proudly. For Maya, we bypassed the posters entirely. I marched her into the headquarters of the Pop Stars Management Agency, slammed a portfolio on the table, and bought a 10% stake in his entertainment company. There, I told a stunned Maya as we walked out, her hands full of exclusive, unreleased merchandise. Now you don't just have his autograph. You own a piece of his career. If he ever gets a girlfriend without telling you, you can fire him. Maya looked at me, her eyes shining with something entirely new. It wasn't the shallow affection of a spoiled brat. It was genuine, unadulterated awe. Mom, she whispered, the words slipping out naturally. You are terrifying. And don't you forget it, I smirked. When we returned to the villa, armed with an army of personal shoppers carrying our bags, we found Emily sitting in the living room, surrounded by an air of manufactured melancholy. She had changed into an apron and was vigorously kneading dough. You're back, she said, wiping her brow with the back of a flour-dusted hand, looking every bit the tragic, hard-working mother. I was just making dumplings. The servants didn't know how to do it right. Family should eat food made with love. Lucas sidestepped her, as if she were radioactive. Keep your love away from my new Rolex, lady. Lucas. Emily gasped, devastated. How can you be so cold? Delia is just buying your affection. Yeah, and she pays top dollar, Lucas retorted, rolling his eyes. Unlike you, who just throws my stuff in the trash and expects me to thank you for it. The comment section was completely fractured now. The kid has a point. Love doesn't mean throwing away what your kid cherishes. But the stepmom is so toxic. Buying a whole company? That's too much. Are you kidding? If my stepmom bought me my favorite celebrity, I'd build a shrine to her. Emily is just playing the victim. I handed my coat to the butler and walked into the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of sparkling water. Emily, let's cut the act. There are no cameras here. Oh, the irony. Julian isn't home, so there's no need to play the long-suffering ex-wife. Why are you really here? Emily stopped kneading. The pitiful look melted from her face, replaced by a cold, hard glare. This is my home. Those are my children. You're just a glorified babysitter he hired. A very well-paid babysitter. I corrected. 10 million a month, plus bonuses. But let's rewind. You abandoned them 5 years ago when Julian's company was facing a hostile takeover. You took a $50 million divorce settlement and ran off with a French artist. So, what happened? Did Pierre run out of paint, or did you run out of money? Emily flinched. The flour-covered hands balled into fists. Julian and I have history. We built this life together. He still loves me. He just doesn't know it yet. And once the children remember who their real mother is, you'll be out on the streets.
Right.
Because making them eat plain noodles and throwing away their toys is a foolproof seduction strategy. I chuckled, leaning in close. Listen to me, Cinderella. You want a war? I'll give you a war. But understand this. I don't fight with tears and aprons. I fight with lawyers and bank accounts. The next week was a masterclass in psychological warfare. Emily tried every trick in the Returning True Love playbook. She accidentally fell into Julian's arms when he came home from work. Julian, reflexes honed by years of dodging corporate assassins, sidestepped seamlessly, letting her crash into a Ming Dynasty vase. Add another 100 grand to your tab, Emily, he said, stepping over the porcelain shards. She tried to intercept the kids at their elite private school, bringing them homemade bentos. I countered by hiring a Michelin star chef to set up a live cooking station in the school's courtyard, feeding Lucas, Maya, and all their influential friends Wagyu beef sliders and truffle fries. By the end of the week, the entire student body was calling me Queen D, and Emily was known as the weird lunch lady. The comments were a bloodbath. The stepmom is ruthless. I love it. R.I.P. heroine. She brought a bento box to a Michelin fight. Is anyone else realizing Emily hasn't actually asked the kids what they want? She just forces her idea of poverty bonding on them. But Emily was desperate, and desperate people are dangerous. She decided to play her final, most dramatic card, the annual Sterling Mulvey Charity Gala. It was the social event of the season, swarming with investors, old money matriarchs, and ravenous journalists. Julian and I arrived looking like the apex predators we were, he in a bespoke Tom Ford tuxedo, me in a blood-red Alexander McQueen gown that screamed, I own the building. Halfway through the evening, just as Julian was about to toast to a new merger, the ballroom doors burst open. In walked Emily. She wasn't wearing a white dress this time. She was wearing the vintage Chanel gown Julian had bought her for their 3rd anniversary. The ballroom fell dead silent. Whispers erupted like wildfire. Emily walked straight toward the podium, tears brimming in her eyes. Julian, she said, her voice amplified by the room's acoustics. I can't pretend anymore. I can't stand by and watch this woman destroy our children. I've come to take my family back. She turned to the crowd, playing the ultimate victim. She forces my children into clubs. She buys their love. She's bleeding my husband dry. I may not have her millions, but I have a mother's heart. A few of the older, more conservative guests looked at me with open disgust. The comment section, wherever the feed was being broadcast, exploded. Finally, the heroine strikes back. Expose the evil stepmom. This is the climax. Mr. Mulvey has to choose now. Julian stood at the podium, his face an unreadable mask. He looked at Emily, then down at me. I didn't panic. I simply took a sip of my champagne, handed the glass to a waiter, and walked up to the podium, my heels clicking rhythmically against the marble floor. I took the microphone from Julian's hand. What a beautiful speech, Emily, I said, my voice dripping with smooth, venomous silk. A mother's heart. Truly inspiring. It's just a shame your mother's heart comes with a massive, undisclosed debt. I snapped my fingers. My assistant, who had been waiting in the wings, handed me a sleek iPad. I connected it to the ballroom's massive projector screen. Let's look at the real reason the heroine returned, I announced. The screen lit up, displaying a series of financial documents heavily stamped with red, overdue, and default notices. Emily Sterling, you blew through your $50 million settlement in 4 years, investing in your French lover's fraudulent crypto startup. When he fled to a non-extradition country, you were left holding the bag. You are currently $30 million in debt to a syndicate of very impatient European lenders. The crowd gasped. Emily's face turned the color of ash. That's a lie. You forged those. I don't need to forge anything. Julian finally spoke up, his voice echoing like a judge's gavel. My security team ran a background check on you the moment you stepped out of that taxi in my driveway. We've known since day one. I smiled sweetly. You didn't come back for Lucas and Maya. You came back because Julian's net worth is your only get-out-of-jail-free card. You thought you could play the pity card, oust the wicked stepmother, and get your hands on the corporate accounts to pay off your debts. No. Julian, you have to believe me. Emily shrieked, lunging forward. Security intercepted her immediately. Believe what? Julian asked coldly. That you suddenly cared about the children you haven't called once in 5 years? Delia might spoil them, but she defends them. She understands the weight of this family's name. You just see us as an A-team. The comment section was in absolute freefall. Plot twist. The White Lotus is a fraud. I'm deleting all my past comments. Emily is trash. Stepmom brought the receipts. Queen D. Take her out. Julian ordered the guards. As they dragged Emily toward the exit, she thrashed, her mask completely gone, her face twisted in ugly desperation. You can't do this. I am their mother. I have rights. I'll sue you for custody. You'll try, I called out after her. And I'll buy the best lawyers in the country to bury you so deep in litigation your grandchildren will be receiving subpoenas. The heavy mahogany doors slammed shut, cutting off her screams. The ballroom was eerily quiet. I turned back to the crowd of stunned billionaires and socialites. I adjusted the microphone. Now that the evening's entertainment has concluded, I said smoothly, raising a fresh glass of champagne handed to me by a terrified waiter, I believe my husband was about to announce a merger. Shall we get back to making money? The room erupted into applause. It wasn't polite applause. It was the ferocious, respectful applause of predators acknowledging the alpha. Later that night, back at the villa, the adrenaline was still humming through my veins. Julian was pouring us both a generous measure of scotch in his study. You orchestrated that perfectly, he said, handing me the crystal glass. The timing with the projector. Flawless. I aim to please, I said, kicking off my heels and sinking into the leather armchair. Though I think I deserve a bonus this month. Defeating the biological mother in public combat wasn't in my original job description. Julian chuckled. A rare, genuine sound. I'll double your allowance. But you know she's not going to stop. She's cornered. Cornered animals bite. Let her bite, I said, staring into the amber liquid. I've already laid the final trap. Julian raised an eyebrow. Oh, you're going bankrupt tomorrow, darling, I smiled. The next morning, the financial world woke up to a fabricated nightmare. A meticulously planted leak suggested that Julian's company was under federal investigation for massive fraud, that his assets were frozen, and that the company was billions in the red. Of course, the real investors and board members were clued in. It was a controlled burn, a stress test on the market. But to the outside world, Julian Mulvey was ruined. I sat in the living room with Lucas and Maya, both of whom were scrolling through the news on their phones. Are we poor now? Lucas asked, sounding more fascinated than terrified. Do I have to sell my Rolex? No, darling, I said, filing my nails. But someone else doesn't know that. Right on cue, the front door burst open. Emily stormed in, having bypassed the gate security who were instructed to let her pass. She looked frantic, holding a crumpled newspaper. Julian, where are you? She screamed. Julian descended the stairs, looking suitably disheveled, his tie loosened. Emily, what are you doing here? Is it true? She demanded, shoving the paper at his chest. Are you bankrupt? Are the feds freezing everything? Julian looked down, letting out a heavy, defeated sigh. It's worse than the papers say. I've lost everything. In fact, because we were never formally finalized on one specific asset clause during the divorce, my creditors are looking to attach the debt to you as well. Emily let out a sound like a strangled cat. What? No. I divorced you. I have nothing to do with your company. They're coming for everything, Emily, I added, walking over with a tragic expression. The kids' trust funds, the cars, the house. We're going to have to live on the streets. But you're their mother. Thank God you're here. You can take them. You can provide for them while Julian and I go to prison. Lucas and Maya, catching on brilliantly, ran to Emily and grabbed her skirt. Mommy. Maya fake sobbed, wiping non-existent tears. Can we come live with you? Will you buy us plain noodles every day? I don't want to be poor, Lucas wailed, grabbing her pristine jacket with sticky fingers. Take me with you. Emily backed away as if her children were infected with a flesh-eating virus. She pried their hands off her clothes with frantic strength. No, I can't. I'm in debt myself. I can't take care of you. Julian, you have to sign a waiver. Right now. Releasing me from all liabilities. Emily, they are your children, Julian said, his voice laced with mock heartbreak. Don't you want to save their souls? Screw their souls. I'm not going to jail for your mistakes. Emily shrieked. She dug into her designer purse and pulled out a legal document. My lawyer drew this up this morning. It severs all my legal ties to you, the estate, and the children. It relinquishes all my parental rights and financial claims. Sign it. Keep your debt away from me. Julian looked at the paper, then at me. I gave him a subtle nod. He took a pen from his pocket and signed it with a flourish. Done. You have no legal ties to this family anymore. Emily snatched the paper back, her eyes wild with relief. She didn't look at Lucas. She didn't look at Maya. She just turned and sprinted out the front door, fleeing down the driveway like the hounds of hell were at her heels. The heavy oak door clicked shut. Silence descended on the foyer. Then, Lucas snorted. Maya giggled. Julian straightened his tie, the defeated posture vanishing instantly. I clapped my hands slowly. Bravo, I said. Oscar-worthy performances, everyone. The comment section, which had been watching through a leaked security camera feed I set up, absolutely detonated. I am screaming. The fake bankruptcy route. The real mom just sold her kids out to avoid debt. That is sickening. Stepmom is playing 4D chess while Emily is eating crayons. I bow down to the evil stepmom. May she reign forever. Julian looked at the kids. You two okay? Lucas shrugged. She was annoying anyway. Hey Delia, since we aren't bankrupt, can I buy that custom gaming rig now? Only if you beat me at Street Fighter tonight, I challenged. You're on, old lady, Lucas grinned. Maya walked over to me, wrapping her arms around my waist in a rare, genuine hug. Thanks for not being a White Lotus, Mom. I patted her head, careful not to ruin her perfectly styled hair. White lotuses get trampled, sweetie. Better to be the thorny rose that owns the garden. A month later, the dust had completely settled. Emily's creditors caught up with her, and last I heard, she was working off her debt at a very unglamorous resort in Monaco. The heroine had been thoroughly dethroned. As for me, Julian called me into his office one afternoon. He slid a thick legal folder across his mahogany desk. What's this? I asked, flipping it open. My updated contract? Did you add the bonus? Better, Julian said, leaning back in his chair, a rare, genuine smile playing on his lips. It's a transfer of shares. 20% of the holding company in your name. And legal adoption papers for Lucas and Maya. They requested it. I stopped. For the first time since I took this job, I was genuinely speechless. I looked at the shares, worth billions, and then at the adoption papers, signed eagerly in Lucas and Maya's messy handwriting. Julian, I said slowly, if I sign these, I'm not just the hired help anymore. I'm legally entitled to half your kingdom if you cross me. I'm aware, Julian said softly. But you defended my kingdom better than I ever could. And you gave my children a mother who actually sees them for who they are, flaws and all. I don't want a manager anymore, Delia. I want a partner. I looked at the billionaire who was supposed to be a temporary employer. I looked at the papers that cemented me as the matriarch of an empire. I picked up the Mont Blanc pen from his desk, the heavy gold cold against my fingers. I didn't hesitate. I signed my name on the dotted line, sealing my fate. All right, Mr. Mulvey. I smirked, tossing the pen down. But just so we're clear, my allowance is still $10 million a month. A girl's got to have her walking around money. Julian laughed, a rich, echoing sound. Deal. I walked out of the study, the undisputed queen of the castle. The comments on my life had faded to static, replaced by the reality of the empire I now held in the palm of my hand. I was the wicked stepmother. I was loud, I was materialistic, and I was unapologetically ruthless. And they all lived happily ever after.